Rose informed Usato about the attack of demons and he was curious about the other healers, but Rose told him that he'd be on the front line with him and healing others. Because they had a little more time to work on his powers and he was suspicious. On the other side, Amelia informed the king about the attack preparations. She got compliments for being punctual and strict about work. She was nervous when she went out and Hiroluk came, and he mocked her. She was proud of her plan, and he asked if she could see his new creation. They saw it and he was sure that it was way more powerful than previous creation of his. But Amelia was thinking of sending the Black Knight for the attack and our healer was happy to return home. Blurin was also in his new home and Usato gave him some fruits to eat. Kokoro was also there but our man was angry at him because he had cheated on him. Anyhow, he also gave him a fruit and Rose came. She was interested in the new name Blurin and she told him that now they had officially adopted Blurin. Rose also informed them that Blurin would also help them in the battle and Blurin was scared but only had to climb on Usato for his training. Rose told him that he had to run and thought that he had to heal the injured soldiers in the battle. Our man was giving his 100% and taunt with others was making his path difficult from hour to hour because it was what was called training for a fight. His mana or power was coming out, but he fell after some time. Rose came to him and healed him and told him to practice in the city after that. Our man was great, and he started running in the market and everyone was normal. He went to a shop for Blurin and asked for fruits, but he had no money. The keeper told him that they could understand from his uniform that he was a member of the rescue team, so they were comfortable with his presence. The keeper also gave him the fruit and Blurin was happy. Now Usato was again running, and a man was running after him. Suddenly he stopped and Usato healed him, and the man said he was Orga, another healer but senior to him. But Orga wasn't good at healing himself and said his sister was also a healer and their work in the battle was only to heal others, and Usato understood what Rose had told him. To some extent, Usato wasn't sure about his skills and powers, but Orga told him that Rose wasn't a kid. If she had chosen him then she would have known what she was doing. They both stood up to go back to their work and Orga told him not to hate Rose because she was a good lady out of her anger and Usato was familiar with that. He left and Yororo came to Orga and told her about Usato. Now Usato went to the castle to meet Susan and Kazuki. He got permission, and the soldiers were practicing for the battle. He saw Susan and she got excited to see him. They sat together, and she was blushing to see Blurin. She asked to touch it and Usato allowed her. She was excited because he was very cute. He bit her hand, but she didn't find it hurting and they both were nervous. He told her about his training and when saw her hand, it was injured. He healed it, and she was shy because he was holding her hand. He asked about Kazuki, and she told him that he was out of the kingdom because he had to get experienced, and Kazuki was about to fight with the demonic wolves. Usato was worried about him, and they said goodbye to each other. He was glad that she was working hard, and he also promised himself to save the injured. He said goodnight to Blurin and saw Rose. He went to her and said he knew that he wasn't powerful enough and he also couldn't fight, but today he promised himself to protect others. Rose was happy to hear that and praised him. Everyone was peeking at them. The next morning she told him that the king asked him to accompany Susan in her training and he had to leave. They were going and Rose told him that his job would be only to heal Susan, and they went to the castle and Susan was excited. She introduced Ark and Korin to Usato because they'd be going together, and Rose told Susan some words for her practice, but she was very rude to our hero. She left and Kazuki was practicing, and Celia came to him. She was worried about him, and he was fine literally. She got shy and ran away. Susan and Usato were going, and she was happy. She tried to touch Blurin but he stopped her and Blurin woke up. She tried to hold it, but Blurin was very heavy and Usato was worried for her. Suddenly they noticed someone's presence, and they were bad guys who asked for their valuable stuff, but they refused. Susan was surprised to see the real bandits and Usato was shocked. When the bandits saw Blurin they were shocked but realized that it was just a kid. Susan got angry and punished them. They were ready to attack and so Susan, they were fighting and suddenly they heard a weird sound. It was falling boars. They were shocked, and this attack was unbearable. Blurin was also saving them, but it wasn't enough, and they fell. But our man was healing Susan. They fell into the water, and he remembered that he was there before. He was unconscious. When he opened his eyes Susan was with him and she got shy. He healed her wounds and for the night he told her that he stayed on the tree, but she had not climbed on a tree before. So, they decided to stay in a cave, and she went to change her clothes. They started using her power to spend the night. He was sitting without a shirt and our girl was too shy to see such solid muscles and suddenly she noticed red eyes. It was venom monkeys. Usato had studied about them and told her not to touch them because they were poisonous. But our mad girl was obsessed with their cuteness and got bitten, but he healed her. Kazuki was also informed about their missing and he asked to search for them. He wanted to go in person, but Rose came and said Usato was her subordinate and he'd never die soon. If Susan was with him then she'd be alright. It was a fact because both of them were very happy and now it was time to sleep. He asked her to sleep first but she was shy so refused. He slept first and she was a bit dizzy and a little sad. She tried to talk, and he was awakened. She asked if he wanted to go back. He said no because this world was amazing, and she also had the same thoughts because she always desired to get freedom from her family and friends. She asked if they were close now and our man got shy and our girl got the wrong idea. The next morning they were going and suddenly they felt something, and it was Blurin. Usato was very happy to see him, and Ark was in a very bad condition. Usato healed him and said Blurin was the one who took him to them. Suddenly Blurin again smelled something and came to the place where he used to live. Everyone was sad, but he turned and started moving because he had decided on his real home. Suzan also asked Usato to go to the place where they belonged. Now they came back, and the king was glad to see them. Our man's tongue was slipping again, and when the king asked about his training he had to tell them a lie. The king was happy to hear that, and he told them to rest, and their training would be rearranged. Sergio came and was informed of something. Usato was suspicious about that, and Kazuki ran to them. He was worried for them, but Usato was trying to mock Suzan and they were behaving like kids. Now they sat and started talking about Rose and her determination, and Usato and our man got the wrong idea. They had a little chit-chat and Celia was watching them. After Usato and Suzan left, Celia asked if she could be friends with Kazuki, and he was also interested. Now the king was assigning jobs to his trustworthiness, and they left to complete the task because the demon attack was on the way. King asked Rose to see the army of the Demon King and inform them that she was about to leave, and he asked her to be the commander again, but she refused and said she was still guilty of her mistake, the mark she got as a punishment, and he tried to convince her, but she told him that he was making a healer who would never die, and King understood that he was Usato because our man had everything: determination, adaptation, and most importantly the will of living. Suddenly she realized and went. Usato got the task by Rose to deliver the letter to the address, and his fellow told him that Rose was out on a mission. Amelia was getting ready for the attack and the Black Knight was tired. He was even rude to her, and Hirola came and tried to tease her. Suddenly the trunk of a tree fell and destroyed the bridge. Was no one but Rose, and Amelia got anxious, and Rose left because she again had some days. Usato was going and everyone was staring at him, and he was uncomfortable. He stopped at the fruit shop and asked for the way. A girl was peeking, and he came to the destination. When he went inside, Yururu welcomed him and she recognized him and said Orga had told her about him. She started guessing his name and he was tired. She told him that it was their clinic and she worked there with Orga, her brother. He asked about Orga, and she said he was treating a patient, and they started peeking. Orga was doing great and Usato was surprised to see such smoothness. The patient was alright and they saw Usato. He gave him the letter and he started reading it, and Usato started talking with Yururu. Yururu was telling him about her training, and suddenly a man came and asked for their help because his friend was injured. Orga asked for his help, and they went to them. They were injured badly, but our healers started healing them. Usato was a little unconfident, but Orga told him to believe in himself and understood and nailed it. Orga and Yururu complimented him, and he left. Orga told Yururu about the letter and the demon attack and said they had to get prepared. Usato was returning and getting the fruits from the shop, and a girl named Amako stopped him. She showed him something from her eyes and he was shocked, because he saw the deaths of his companions because of Black Knight, and Amako ran away. Would he understand the meaning of that? Subscribe to our channel for the latest updates.